Whoa, Andrew.
Man, is this name that tune, you meal?
Yeah, hours.
This is awesome. Happy Star Wars week, everybody. It should really take over the week, right?
We're my Star Wars theme for today.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a big
Awesome.
Star Wars fan in my house. Everybody loves Star Wars. So we actually
Hey, you,
seriously don't like Harry Potter or the other characters that much. That's the truth. I'm just telling the truth of my family. But we love Star Wars.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm loving the new gen stuff, so I even have a
yeah.
Dadalorian shirt on
Oh
today.
yeah. I love the
Yeah,
Mandalorian, the Boba Fett. The Obi-Wan Kenobi is coming, so can't wait. Can't
yeah.
wait.
It's really
Yeah.
exciting, and I love yeah, we've got Chewie, right, being acknowledged
Yeah.
here. Yeah. I love that the bottom of that mask moves. That's really cool.
Yeah. So just to give you an idea how much we like Star Wars in my family, I have a cat, two cats actually, but one of them is called is his name is Wookie. So even my cat name is Star Wars name. So I wish I could grab it, but I don't know where he is right now. And it will be very funny because I show it to everybody. They will understand what it's called Wookiee because it actually looks like a Wookiee. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's oh man. Yeah. I don't know if we'll get all the way into settling the debates, right, between the
Hmm.
prequels and the sequels.
Hmm.
That's definitely it's definitely a lot of them, right? But I think when we talk about the source of this whole theme,
Uh
I
huh.
think we can all agree that a majority of the story centers around one main character, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's Darth Vader,
That's
right?
right.
So that's actually what I'll be sharing a little bit today. And when we kind of talk about that, right? I've got a Vader algorithm, and we'll talk about how to get that deployed. We'll be going through an Ultrix workflow that has
Mhm.
that,
That's right.
and kind of touching on the Vader algorithm itself because that can be applied globally from a data transformation perspective. Um, and when we're kind of discussing this, right, I'll just share a couple fun things that I also
Hmm.
found, right?
Very cool.
Um, One of them is predicting maintenance on droids. I thought this was just really fun to kind of have it uh, in here. So if you want to check it out, um, a lot of people love all the droids, right? R2D2 is definitely my favorite. And what I appreciate with this is they literally relate this to, hey, well, why is it important, right? What are some things that you can predict? Um, like maintenance on the droids, right? And then that relates the same to like airplanes, hospitals, right? That's all part of IoT and really is future forward as we kind of talk about that, right? That's something that is already kind of happening today. So I'm always excited to kind of see some of that information percolating through because we're literally going to be doing things all the way until we reach the stars here. So it's really cool. Have you ever thought about anything like that with Emil, like Star Wars or Star Trek? Man, I can't wait until that
Hmm.
actually becomes a reality.
I mean, it would be awesome. Definitely. I mean, who will not want to go to the stars, right? Or like do something, similar to what you can see or watching the movies. I mean, it's a dream. It's fun. I mean, that's what I hear in Orlando. Everything Star Wars in Disney, it's so popular, right? We can see people, reserving everything related to Disney and Star Wars for months, probably years. So it's just awesome. We can wait.
Yeah, and the land's being really funny here. He says, can you predict the maintenance for my car, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because when we talk about that, right, it's almost like Elon Musk is going to be the
Hmm.
grandfather of all of this, right?
That's
Between
right.
the car maintenance and getting to space. So you can only imagine how much data we're going to need for that, right? Predicting failures, they do a lot of that with the rockets, right? And then when we talk about more of these advanced algorithms, some of them come in the form of, hey, this qualitative information, right, that needs to be processed. Because if you were processing a ticket or a work order, right, you need to understand what the general sentiment is around that. And when we're kind of doing that, right, that's where this Vader sentiment analysis comes in, because that's really what they're kind of going in and doing, right? Is they're basically saying, hey, is there a dictionary that we can use to start analyzing some of the sentiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is really getting into the weeds here. If you want to go through and look at the history, they've got a wonderful white paper on this that you can kind of go through to understand um, the Vader algorithm some more. Let me see if I can grab it for you real quick. Uh, paper. Yeah, let's see if I can grab it here. Oh, that's why, because it came up in a PDF.
We have a lot of
Yeah,
comments.
so you,
Yeah.
yeah, so you can literally see this kind of
Mm-hmm.
coming in, right? And then um, yeah, I mean, literally another technology to have cool meetings, right? With
Yeah.
a holoport is what Alan was sharing here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I look at those, that would definitely get more hands-on, right? Maybe that's tying in more with the metaverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of what Meta is doing in total. And I
Yeah.
think, again, this is going to be parts of that, right? To understand overall sentiment and interactions. This is kind of more of the getting into the weeds, right? If you wanted to understand how it actually works. But I think the part that's most exciting to me is just the application of it, right? So when we talk about it, I'll put in a couple posts if you've never checked out Towards Data Science. There's some great posts that exists within Towards Data Science where it talks about doing sentiment analysis. And actually,
Mm-hmm.
that's the workflow that I have here today, right? So you've got some women's clothing. Um, and when we look at this, there's some uh, text reviews that exist here, right? So you can see 2,300 reviews. So if you were trying to understand, hey, what does this look like in total for our brand, right? Maybe for a particular product or service. And then in this case, we are doing a little bit of prep work here to kind of remove names, departments, etc., right? And then you'll notice here you have English selection here, right? And then we're picking the Vader algorithm. And then
Okay.
in this case, we're looking at the title and the review text, right, to understand um, how to process this information. And then literally you have even the age bracket, right? So some of the verbiage and stuff may be relative to different age brackets. So it's good to kind of see that broken out. And then really you even see like an aggregation here, right? Understanding, hey, is there a particular group of individuals that loves our products, right? So are we hitting our target market? What's that sentiment score look like, right? So it looks like we're pretty solid in the 30s. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then when we start to analyze this, right, maybe we want to do a quick sort here. So I can do a sort and say, okay, what's some of the top products that we have? So it looks like it's tops for 18 to 34, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
intimates kind of for everybody, right? And then you have tops again here for the other age brackets, right? And then if we were to examine this, you've got some visualization going on. And if we wanted to look at those charts, we could take a look here, right? Oof, these colors are a little rough, Emil. Maybe this one needs to end up
Yeah,
on the conversation tomorrow.
yeah.
But this is great because it helps you kind of
Mhm.
understand where the sentiment is overall with the different age brackets, right? So here it's tops, right? And then for 35 to 44, it's intimates, right? And then that seems to kind of work its way across the board. And then again at 55 to 64 and 65 plus. So it looks like you have really two
Mm.
key products, right?
Yeah.
But if you were trying to figure out how to market and stuff, that's where I look at, hey, what's the analysis and stuff? It looks like we got Roberto joining us, just saying, hey, folks, hey, Roberto. And then Steve joining us as well. Hey, Steve.
There you
Uh,
go.
so I think when we look at this, right, what I appreciate is how quickly we can use some of these algorithms. And we got somebody literally saying punch it chewy, right? Like that's what
Yeah,
I think of whenever we're applying some of these algorithms is it's a way
yeah.
for you kind of to get ahead of the curve, right? And do some initial analysis on this. So what what are some things that you've kind of seen in your work experience, Yamil, that kind of apply to uh, algorithms like this being your father, right?
Yeah, I mean, you think about it when you're doing like media activity. You could use some of this algorithm to check what is my more effective, maybe media activity that I'm doing,
Mm,
like things like that. Just this is the good thing about you. You're showing this right, and somebody may want to get into data science or they want to become data science, like what they call a somebody that doesn't
citizen data
have to be a data
scientist.
science and can
Yeah.
still use this. That's awesome, right? Like somebody can still use things like this. Is the advantage of using tools like Alteryx. Hey, you can do some data science here. Who knows? I mean, and you can still help your company. So
Yeah. And I think when we look at this, right, you have access to the algorithm. So if we go
mhm,
back to that page that I was sharing, right? So literally, if you haven't checked out Towards Data Science, I would
mhm,
recommend checking it out. It literally helps you understand what the problem is, right? And then you also have, okay, there's this text analysis that we're doing with the
mhm,
Vader algorithm, right? Which is in alignment with our theming, but there's also the NLTK package that can be used,
mhm,
right? And then
mhm,
this is like the battle versus light and dark, right? So you take these two
mhm,
algorithms and get them to analyze some of the information, right? So the lexical features that exist here, and then basically you're
yeah,
utilizing that polarity to understand, hey, is this typically a negative word, right, or is it a
a
positive
positive
word?
word.
And then basically you're rating the overall sentiment of the entire review based off of that, like a combined score, right? So
Mhm.
Emil, I know we worked at a company together, right, at the theme parks. And tell me, do you feel like this type of analysis actually works in every case?
Absolutely. I mean, it worked great. I mean, what's funny is that they call it dark Vader. And I was just thinking that, if I was one of the executives, I wanted to see if my clients went or the people that went to the park went to the dark side. Like if they were like negative, if they're like negative, if they went to Disney instead of going to where, we used to work with Universal. I mean, it's just great for looking at those open-end questions or looking at the survey data where I want looking at my, is it everything negative? Is this, what is my NPS, net promoter scores? Is it going bad? Things
Exactly.
like that. Or honestly, how many companies have, so much feedback from their customers from surveys,
Yeah.
and they need to analyze that data somehow. Like most of the stuff is just people just rating and feedback. What if you could download all your comments or ratings from Google right now? You go to that you can go and say ratings and you can see all the reviews and
Yeah.
then you
Or
can
maybe you
analyze
work
it.
in
Yeah,
HR, right?
yeah,
So
HR.
you've got reviews on Glassdoor, you've got exited
Exactly.
reviews, right? Um, Even from a finance perspective, right?
Mhm.
Um, Maybe people are sending you emails and are behind
Mhm.
in payments, right? So what are they saying? And maybe it's, hey, you have a bad product or bad shipping, right? I didn't receive
Mhm.
the product. Which
Mhm.
actually, that reminds me, I've got to follow up with someone about something that I didn't receive this weekend,
Mhm.
because literally it's that exact scenario, right? And when
Mhm.
we look at this, hey, in the case that I had this weekend, right?
Mhm.
Most of the information that I have is positive. I received most of the stuff that I was trying to get this weekend, right? But there's actually one negative aspect that's kind of tied to that, right? So if I were looking at this, hey, I'm mainly neutral, but I'm negative, and maybe we're even tracking this over time, right? So maybe the first couple times I call in, hey, it's mainly a neutral conversation. Hey, you just forgot something, I wanted to get cleaned up.
Mhm.
Now all of a sudden it's been a week that's passed by, I still haven't received the item, right? Now I may become more negative, and that can give us a sense of timeline, right? How long do I have to essentially recover this issue, right? So if we were looking at that, maybe there's something right now during COVID, we're all having supply chain issues, right?
Mhm.
So maybe I'm having a supply chain issue. Ooh, I have to change up vendors. I don't even really have
Mhm.
time to vet whether this is the same quality that I had before, right? Because I just got to
Mhm.
get in here and make it happen, right? But
Mhm.
what I can do is analyze that on the back end, right? Because I fulfilled the orders, and maybe I'm willing to make that right in the long run, right? And as we're kind of talking about that, that's something like the second post that I have.
Mhm.
Literally, you can do this in 10 minutes, right?
Wow.
So as we're looking at this, that's 10 minutes. Doesn't even necessarily have to be an Ultrix. You can learn how to
Mhm.
use these tools
Mhm.
and apply them that quickly,
Mhm.
because again, this is Python code. So as long as you have a code-free or and a code-friendly tool, right, then you can kind of use this. And then really with Vader, it's going to put it into four separate categories, right?
Mhm.
So negative, neutral, positive, and then compound. Which when we look at this, I mean, Yamil, what does this remind you of in terms of scores when we're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
sentiment?
This is like like when you have a question and
Yeah,
somebody's saying like yes or no, or like is it positive or negative, or experience, right, from the
yeah,
let's say for the experience. Also like top box and things like that. When we used to do that, when a five scale question for a
yeah,
survey, you have what is called a top box or detractor and your promoters.
yeah.
Um,
It may even be similar, right? This is obviously more comprehensive, but like a net promoter score.
the promoter
So if you
score.
guys are using that, right? Okay, well, why did they relate a give us a negative review, right? Maybe they're a
Exactly.
detractor because there's a specific issue that they had, right? And if you just fix that, everything else about their sentiment is positive, right?
Exactly.
So an example would be um, like if you had the we can go back to the women's clothing example here, right? So literally we have the five products here with the highest proportion of negative reviews, right?
Hmm.
So if we were to look at these, right, and then look at the word cloud, and then
Mhm.
maybe that's what it is, right? Oh, our sizing is inaccurate, right? So the rest of
Mm.
the purchasing experience could be amazing, but maybe we're missing that chart and it has the actual measurements, right, in centimeters or in inches for your waist,
True.
or it has the like true fit, right? So, hey, you normally wear a size 10 shoe, right? But our sizes run a little small. So maybe you need an 11, right?
Mhm.
Or the jeans, right? Apparently, maybe the jeans or the fabric
I,
kind
I,
of come
I
into play.
I was just thinking, if you look at it, it's just telling you a message. It seems like maybe the fabric is cheap or the
Yeah.
material is cheap. So if you look at around the words, the material is disappointing. It's
Yes.
cheap. It's maybe the material is not the best or the fabric is not the best. Something
Yeah.
like that. It could be that they're having problems with returns. It's the same thing. They maybe get it, looks cheap, the material is not good. Then when they're trying to return it, they cannot return it quickly enough. Maybe something like
Yeah.
that. It's
That's actually
disappointing.
really, really interesting because I'm looking here and I just did this. This is going to be to decorate my wall here. Let me see if I can reach over here and get it with my headset still on.
Mm-hmm.
So literally here I've got, these
Mm-hmm.
are felt squares, right? And you can see the full color palette. I had to order this just because I wanted to understand, hey, what's the quality of the material, right? What are the different colors, right? And this is a product that they turn around and sell just because they want to ensure that you're happy, right? So when we look at this, there could be creative ways that we're kind of going about doing that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just like even with us in consulting, right? Do you do you want somebody to try everything first, right? That's almost like doing an appetizer or having a wine tasting, right? So if you're at a restaurant, they may come over and give you a sample of the wine before you actually get the whole the whole drink, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we do this, right, how can you really do this in 10 minutes? Because that just sounds crazy, right? Whenever we're talking about this, how can you break this down to where you're really doing this? And obviously, Darth Vader with a bow, right?
Mm-hmm.
He, we all know he's got a daughter in the family, right? So when we're looking at this, we could take different approaches on how to kind of apply this, right? And when we look at using a rule-based approach, right, versus doing statistical NLP, there's a way that we can kind of use these algorithms to be more responsive. And so when we're trying to decide this, right, we've got to first identify, hey, is this a domain specific problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then do we have labeled data? So um, I get one of the great questions that everybody always asks is, hey, when I'm sitting here trying to train my algorithm, right? What's some of the best ways to do that? So, Yamil, have you ever heard of the Amazon Mechanical Turk?
No, I have not. I mean, what is it? What is that? Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so this is super interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you check this out, literally access to an on-demand 24 by
Oh,
7
yeah.
workforce,
Okay.
right? So, what this
Awesome.
is let's say, for instance, I've got some manual processes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it could literally be, in my mind, I always think of like the CAPTCHA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, oh man, I've got to tell me what this says because I don't know what it reads, right? You essentially need a physical set of eyes to process that
Mm-hmm.
information. Sometimes that happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so rather than having this huge temporary workforce, right? Or even like trying to aggregate the uh, stuff that you're trying to process enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
We essentially can turn it into these little micro tasks,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which will allow us to essentially they created Amazon created a marketplace, right? And they say, okay, put your tasks out here. And then, I mean, we're literally talking about it could be pennies or a couple
Mm-hmm.
dollars, right? Related to each of these tasks. So think about transcriptions, that kind of stuff. These individuals kind of go through and do that. So it's kind of a
Great.
great way of managing that. And you can literally see, hey, here's artificial intelligence, right, that's using it, or even US Foods. So it's a great resource. Again, I'm throwing this in there. If you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out these problems, right,
Yeah.
it's a great way of making sure that you're able to excel at some of this stuff. So
Yeah. The one for the sentiment analysis for beta is there also. I see it on the chat. So if anybody's interested, it's out there.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, definitely check it out. I mean, if you're working through some of this stuff, right, and you've got some manual classification problems, you can use that. Um, and then when we're looking at this, right, you may have limited available funding, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
can't launch this big, huge algorithm and we just want to do something quick and dirty. Maybe this is an ad hoc analysis that you want to do, or if you're a citizen data scientist, right? I
Mm-hmm.
just want to understand if there's any value here. This is kind of a quick way of doing this, is utilizing some of these algorithms, right? And then you have lexicons, right? So this is essentially um, aspects where you can uh, reference some of the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we look at this, that's what allows you to do kind of that um, net promoter score almost with a positive and negative labeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to do that successfully um, really helps kind of tie some of this in. And what's interesting is um, there's definitely tons of blogs on this, right? And when we're doing this, I mean, literally you have uh, old blogs and stuff, right? So if we're looking at some sentiment analysis, Roberto shared this where he said, "Hey, like if
That's
you
pretty cool. Mm-hmm.
wanted to do some analysis, right, you could try and understand even different languages, right? And that's part of where like uh, the classifications and stuff come in, is you will still need to use these algorithms to reclassify new languages." Nice. That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. So as we kind of dive in here, right, if you're
Mm-hmm.
looking for some of these natural language processing components, there's definitely different ways that you can get at this, right? So if I were working with others, I may be trying to use some of the computer vision to bring in images, right? So maybe there's in reviews now, people do a lot of pictures. They'll even do crazy things, right? Like they'll do a full-on video, right, in addition to a picture and another review. And those are typically some of the most viewed ones, right? And when we kind of do that, I have something here related to call center data,
Mm-hmm.
which ties in um, Alteryx and again some more natural language processing through Veritone, which has the AIware tools, right? And with these, what you're actually doing here is this is processing speech, right, from an MP4. So when
Wow.
we do this, literally, I could start with maybe this as the initial step, right? Hey, let me just separate out the individuals that are speaking. So if you're part of a call center, you're doing call center analytics, I could separate this out, right,
Mm-hmm.
and identify the individual speakers,
Mm-hmm.
relate those individual speakers to the call, and then do the Vader algorithm, right, where I would say, hey, what's their overall sentiment? Are my sales reps, right, or my customer support, are they being positive during the conversation, right? Or is it negative and negative? And that's why we're getting negative out of it, right? Or can that positivity from a uh, support representative really counter some of the negativity from the customer, right? And then we
Amazing.
can see that kind of tracking it over time throughout the conversation, right? You can really get sophisticated with this stuff and take things to the next level.
So on this one or the other one, can you point out maybe one or two of the Alteryx tools that maybe a lot of people don't use a lot, or maybe there's not like
Ooh,
the most common ones that someone that is not, let's say someone that it's maybe
hmm.
higher than intermediate level of expertise on Alteryx, maybe doesn't use a lot, or something that it's very
Yeah, so I think one of my favorite ones here
Mhm.
on this workflow would be the join multiple, right?
Okay, okay,
So
that's
this
one.
literally lets you join multiple inputs at the same
Mm,
time. And I mean, you've got a couple different configuration options. Let's say you pulled all these records in, you're adding additional fields, but you're handling them separate, right? So I'll give you an example. Maybe we're parsing the speakers out, right? So those speakers would technically all be on the same record, and then we may be doing something to adjust their speech, right? So
mm-hmm,
we could have something for the customer, I don't know, maybe we bleep out swear words or something, right? And then for the uh, individual who's on the support side, we may have keywords that they're supposed to be saying every time, right? So we were doing some analysis on those, but they're all part of the same record, and we separate them out, do that individual analysis, and then we want to bring them all back together, right? So this allows us to really do that. And you could join based off of record position, right? Or maybe we
mm-hmm,
have a call ID, right? We could pull that
mm-hmm.
information back together there as well. So it makes it pretty sweet, right? So you can do some Jedi mind tricks,
Hmm.
um, and basically say, hey, this is not the droid you're looking for, right?
Exactly.
And kind of go in and search some of that stuff. And then if we're looking here on this side,
What about the side? Yeah, I was gonna ask you. What is that one that it's underneath of the? Yeah, those two. That one and the one on the left. Hmm.
yeah, so these ones are the text processing ones, right? So these are text mining tools.
Okay.
And actually, they have a new one that just came in here
Mm.
as of 21.4, which is the named entity recognition, right? So it can literally pick out like company names and stuff, which is pretty cool because a lot of times you're looking for that, right? So, hey, are they mentioning my company's name or a
Or the
product name?
competition. Or the
Yeah,
competition.
yeah. So who are they mentioning, right? If I'm buying mattresses or something. So are they mentioning Sealy, right? Or um,
I
hold
mean,
on.
I think this is very awesome. This one because I'm thinking, let's say that I am doing a tons of surveys, right? A tons of feedback or surveys, and people are getting out of my company. Like, let's say you're getting out of this park or this hotel, and you're actually getting all of this information.
Yeah,
How many customers get confused with where they were supposed to be? They're getting confused. Oh, this is owned by Marriott. No, that's not owned by Marriott. Or this is
yeah,
Disney. No, that's not Disney. That's Universal.
yeah.
And they're getting confused now. You can grab them with this and figure out if you need to improve your communication of your company.
That's really big, right? So I used to work at Advent Health,
Mm-hmm.
and a few years ago they had a huge rebranding, right? So they had a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of subsidiaries, and then they standardized all the names to Advent
Correct.
Health.
Yeah. That's
But it
incredible.
it used to be all these outpatient facilities. So if you went there, like for urgent care or something, right, that had a separate name for the urgent care, right? It was, I believe it was Centricare.
Cancer care.
So then they rolled that all under a company, right? And that helps you with brand equity, right? Because whereas you may have had a really good experience, oh, Ritz Carlton, right? Ooh, that's really nice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But ironically, that's under the Marriott brand,
The
right?
married man. Correct.
So when we look at the prestige of the brand, in some instances, you want them to be related, right?
Mhm.
And together, in other instances, you may want them to be separated. So when we look at some of those things, it's important to drill into all those levels. And then, I mean, shoot, even name recognition, right? We've got the great resignation going on. Where are all your
Mhm.
people going, right?
Correct.
Is there something that we're seeing? Are they all going to Amazon, right?
Mhm.
Or is it everybody from Disney's going to Universal, right? Or Verizon to T-Mobile, right? So what are some of the things that you're seeing that are kind of happening, right? How is that occurring? And then you can
Like
use
it.
that name recognition to understand, oh yeah, here's the reason why they're going. Maybe there's more recognition at company A than there is at company B, right? Maybe we need to look at some of their practices, right? It could be simple like leave, right, or benefits, or something else that we need to identify that we can improve upon, right, in terms of competition. Or maybe there's something completely opposite, right? We've been focusing heavily on the negative. Maybe there's something you're really doing well, right, that you just need to
Mhm.
highlight more. So if you're going out and
Mhm.
trying to find new employees, what are some of the biggest things that your company can have, right, that would inspire them to join the light side, right?
Correct. Correct.
What's going to encourage them to do that? Hey, you should be really relaxed, right? Yoda is still the strongest of
Mhm.
all the Jedi, right?
Mhm.
So what is it that you're kind of capturing in terms of the story there, right? Or is it that you're playing off the emotions and trying to harness some of that energy? So
That's right.
awesome. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's
So
mhm.
this one's definitely been a fun one, Emil. I know we always have more, right? I'm excited to see what we have tomorrow. Do you want to
Yeah.
touch a
Tomorrow
little
we're gonna
bit
have
on?
great. Yeah, tomorrow's gonna be great. If anybody wants to join us, we're gonna have a great visualization. There's just way too many out there, very good ones related to Star Wars. We seriously have, I think, awesome ones to talk about, and should be really fun. Should be a lot of fun. A lot of fun tomorrow. Great week.
So,
And tomorrow is the actual day, right? May the 4th
yeah,
be
May the
with
4th.
you.
All
May the
right.
4th be with you. So,
Exactly. And I definitely recommend checking out, watching our social media tomorrow because we've really got some fun stuff
mhm,
that we'll be sharing, right? So you could see a land saying on there, a Star Wars content this week, right? So make sure you keep an eye out because we've got some fun stuff we'll be showing. Um, and then please stay tuned next week. And then if you haven't signed up for the conferences already, right, make sure you do that. Follow us individually on social media, right?
mhm,
We'll be doing some posts live from the conferences. We'd love to see you there. You can check out our sessions as well.
mhm.
Um, on our channel, we've got no joke, 10 of them that we're doing in total for Inspire, right?
Wow.
And then we also have one at the Tableau conference, which is going to be an
Mhm.
amazing panel, right?
Yeah,
For the show that's winning awards and helping so many people. So
exactly.
please make sure you check out. And then if you have friends that are going to the conference, we would love to see you and them there. Don't hesitate to share it.
Yeah, so May 16, 17, 18, 19. If you are in Vegas or I think I forgot
Denver.
Colorado. Denver,
In
Denver.
Denver.
Sorry.
Yep.
In Denver, or if you're going to the conference, just if you go into the conference, Tableau conference, Ultras conference, just let us know. We'd
Yeah.
love to meet you there. It doesn't matter. I mean, just let us know if you're going. We'd love to meet you there. Grab some coffee, a beer, maybe. So who knows?
Yeah.
Just let us know. We're gonna be there. Then I mean, it's gonna be on both conferences. Are there in the same week, and we're gonna have like Andrew said, speakers on both conferences. So we're gonna have sessions on both, and yeah, just let us know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. Happy
Thank you so
Tuesday.
much.
Happy Star Wars week.
Yeah.
And may the 4th
Thank
be
you.
with you tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, I know you guys like it.
Awesome.
Oh. So yeah, thank you so much.
We
See
look
you
forward
next
to the
week.
next episode.
Yeah, next week.